beautiful being, oneness evolving here, sitting inside. It's sunny this morning. It's now cold, and I mean cold out there, at least for me. And so I'm in here in my gloves and hat, and it's spring. What can I say? It goes from being spring-like to being winter again. Excuse me, I've got a tickle. I'm probably going to cough for a couple of minutes and then it'll stop. So, because we're inside, and it's been ages since I've been inside, I get to show you some rocks. And I picked rocks today that I find interesting. So, interesting rocks is what we have. This is a piece of kyanite. And, it's all textured. It's not perfect. It's not gemstone quality. That's the kyanite matrix. And then this is the kyanite itself. And you can see that it's kind of like mica, because I think it's in the same family as mica. It's got all these, it's striated, it's got layers like an onion. But, I just really like it because it's blue and it's kind of shiny. And I've got another piece of kyanite, which is mostly this, and it's just got little bits of blue in it. So this is the other way around. And I just enjoy it. So I'm doing this. I'm here to talk about God of me, right? And what the 0 point field and I have been writing about today. And we have, but this is a Facebook Live. And so if you're wondering why I'm not talking about it yet, it's because Facebook Lives take a little while to get settled in. And my husband, who is my social media consultant, shares it out to the various groups. And by the time he's done that, by the time I've rabbited on with crystals or shown you around the garden, which is what I was hoping to do because it's really pretty out there right now, by the time I've done that, it's all sort of going and visible. So anyway, that was the first rock, and that's what we're doing. And I'll get into it in a minute, all about the gut and why it can help you navigate your life and why you should listen to your gut and what happened to me when I didn't. So this is the other interesting rock that I decided to show you today. And you think, what is that? Not very glamorous. This might give you a clue. This looks a little bit like obsidian, and that's because it is. It took me a long time to figure out what this was. So it's got a cut surface here. That's chipped, but this is cut. It's not natural. It's just flat. And this also is cut. And you can see that if it was polished, it would be quite black. It would be a lot like this. And this is a natural surface. And I thought, and so's this, right? And you can see this looks like obsidian. And I thought, what is this? How would you get a rock like this? And this looks a lot like pumice, right? Which has got this, which is obviously a flattish surface, and that, and the rest of it's been cut. But what's going on? Oh, hang on, this is natural as well. I beg your pardon, we've got 3 surfaces that are natural. And you can see, it looks like it's flowed. And I remember when I solved this puzzle for myself, I realized, oh, this is lava. This is volcanic lava that has flowed down the side of a mountain during an eruption. And as it's cooled, the very top surface has turned into pumice because, you get the lava and it expands and it becomes all, well, like that. It becomes very light and the pumice gets thrown up in the air. But in this case, this is obsidian, but the surface of it became pumice. And it flowed down the side of the volcano, and then as it cooled, it cracked. And you get that. I know that as the volcanic glass flows down the side of the mountain, the side of the volcano, it cracks as it cools, and you get these quite sharp square shapes. And that's how that happened, and that's why I like this rock, because I figured it out. So, now I'm going to talk to you about what we've done today. God of me. How do I be God of me? Not God of anybody else. How do I be God of me? And the question that the 0 point field and I are busy answering one Wednesday morning a week, because that's just how it works for me, is how do you navigate tricky, difficult, confusing, complicated decisions and questions in your life? It's not like nobody's asked that question, and it's not like we've got the entire answer. At least I've got the entire answer. The 0 point field does have the entire answer, but somebody's got to translate. And so the translation that comes through me is not going to be the whole answer, because there is no whole answer. Everybody's different. However, what we've been talking about is the fact that humans have not just one compass that they use to navigate in life. And most people think, oh, I use my head. I think. I consider, I decide, I whatever. And that's the compass in your brain. But humans actually have at least 3 compasses installed. One of them's in the heart. There is a big brain in your heart, and you can use that to navigate your life. And some people know about that, and many people don't. And there is another compass that even fewer people know about, in my experience. And it's actually the second biggest neurological network in your body, and it's called your enteric nervous system. And relatively recently, it has been decided that it's so big and so important, and it's amazing what it does, that it's part of your autonomic nervous system, and your autonomic nervous system runs your entire body for you. That's how powerful your enteric nervous system is. 100 million neurons. What's this got to do with navigating your life? Those neurons process a heap of information, and it's my experience that they don't just process information about what's going on inside your gut, although that's their primary role, because digestion's really important to a human. If you don't eat, you can't get energy out of your food. You're going to die pretty fast. So that's why there is an enteric nervous system. But that same nervous system gets information from a lot more than just what's going on in your gut. And my own personal experience is that information is a really reliable guide. And the thing is that for a lot of my life, I didn't know that. And I got into all kinds of shit because I didn't know that. Really, truly. I used to just have these feelings, and I thought that life was pretty much supposed to be hard and painful. And so when my gut said, I don't like that, that's scary, that's not pleasant, I don't want to go there, I would just walk straight through those feelings. Because I thought, really, when I realized this later, I thought that if I was going for the hardest option, I was going to get the greatest reward. How wrong was I? I was really wrong. I understand now. I've got better ways of guiding through my life than just bullying through stuff that feels painful and hard. But if I had understood what my enteric nervous system was telling me, I could have used my gut compass to navigate my life very differently. So this is why it's really useful to understand actually a little bit about how this thing in your gut works. Because it's helping your brain, your autonomic nervous system, run your body. And it's not just your digestion. It's hooked up with a nervous system that runs your entire body. And it doesn't just get information from your autonomic nervous system. It puts a ton of information into your autonomic nervous system. And if you stop and think, that autonomic nervous system is running the rest of your body, and your enteric nervous system, your gut compass, your gut brain, is giving it a heap of information. That's kind of important then. You want that information to be good. And if you can learn how to use that information, never mind how to make it coherent, because then it's going to send coherent information to your brain, which is going to send to the rest of your body, that could be a really good thing too. For feeling better, for physically feeling better, for emotionally feeling better. It's an amazing, amazing system. And most people don't know that it's there, and they don't realize it can guide them through their lives, and they don't realize how powerful it is for healing and all this other stuff. So that's why I'm excited about the brain we have in our gut. It's not just, it's about digestion and poop. It's way more than that. So what we wrote about today, well, of course, we went back over what we wrote last week, and there were some really cool bits that I filled in, but I don't want to spend the time talking about those today. That will be for when the whole thing is available as a kind of a learning process for people who want to do this, who want to actually master themselves. And I don't know how to say this yet, but this is kind of the mission, is for anybody who wants to learn to be able to go to this online resource, which is somehow going to get paid for and all of that, because you don't just put stuff online and it's free. It actually costs things. It costs money to put stuff online and leave it there for people to use. But anybody who actually wants to do that can go and use the tools that I'm developing now to become God of themselves, their own boss. And but all their own boss, if you're God, you're divine, you kind of have divine sovereignty over yourself, and you know how to be God for yourself, which automatically means you're going to be divine around everybody else. I mean, I don't care if I never achieve it, but this is my worthy goal. It's just what fires me up and gives me it's a reason to live, to get up in the morning. So the piece that we wrote about today, the 0 point field and I keep mentioning the 0 point field because I was writing all of this by myself for a while, and then one time about 6 months ago, whenever it was, the 0 point field said, can I write? And I said, of course. And the whole way that everything's being communicated and written is completely different and way better. The writing is really different now. And it's coming from the field through me. So the field uses the information in my head and stuff that I'm interested in, have learned, and importantly experienced. Like, this is real. I actually use it. I'm not just spouting fancy ideas. This is stuff I live. And so that's kind of, it is a 5D information that's being translated into 3D. I use the best words I can, but it's the 0 point field. And I know when I'm deviating from the information that is coming, it's this team thing. I know when I'm deviating because it doesn't feel right. It's like, wait a minute, I stopped talking and you took over. No, I don't want that. So, the autonomic nervous system is amazing. It runs our body. It handles 37.2, depends on the size of your body. The number could be much bigger, it could be a lot smaller, but 32.7 trillion billion chemical reactions in one cell in your whole body. Sorry, I beg your pardon. 37.2 trillion billion chemical reactions in your body in 1 second. And another 37.2 trillion billion. And another 37.2 trillion billion. Can you organise all that? I certainly can't. But the coherence of the 0 point field does. And we learned about that last week. So that's what your autonomic nervous system does. It's incredible. And one of the things that it does is it makes things, it communicates information through different parts of your body. It's always sending instructions. It's receiving feedback. And this just goes on and on and on every second, giving information and organising all that stuff that goes on in every cell of your body and every second of your whole life. It's an incredible, amazing system. And it's all hooked in with your gut brain. Your gut brain is 1/3 of it, right? There are 3 branches of the autonomic nervous system. One of them is the sympathetic nervous system. There's the fight, flee, or hide, fight or freeze, fight or flight. The parasympathetic nervous system is your rest and digest. Chill out, baby. There's no threats out there. Be creative. Hang out with people. Have a nice life. And the 3rd branch is this enteric nervous system that runs your digestion, but it also gives you guidance. And if you don't understand that, you're going to miss really useful information. And that was me. And I know better now. So the most basic thing that most people are aware that we have gut feelings, right? But they don't know how these gut feelings happen. And the gut feelings happen because of this communication that happens between your brain and your enteric nervous system, which runs your gut, and this thing called the vagus nerve, there's 2 of them, your vagus nerves that connect your brain and your gut. And by the way, your vagus nerves, which connect your brain and your gut, also connect your brain with all of the other major organs in your entire body. And remember, your vagus nerve gets a ton of information from your enteric nervous system. So you might want your vagus nerve to have good information to work with because it's sending information everywhere. So it's a 2-way thing. There's more information travels between your gut and your brain than between any other system in your body and your brain. It's a really big ongoing conversation between these 2. And they have a lot to say. They have a lot to organise. 37.2 trillion billion chemical reactions in every second. Wow, it's an amazing system. It's incredible. So the basic skill that I didn't know before is to pay attention to the gut feelings. Doesn't mean, if my gut goes all squirrely and scared, doesn't mean never do that. And if I get excited butterflies when I see something and I think, oh, that looks amazing, doesn't mean I'm going to do that. But it is information that I should pay attention to and notice Just notice. And then you think, okay, I'm excited about that, but really, is this right for me at this time? You got to keep your brain on. You got a gut brain. It's very intuitive. You got a brain. It can put the picture together. You got a frontal lobe that goes, is this and this and this and this, and do all they fit together? Is this a picture that makes sense to me? It does work in pictures a lot of the time. Or you could say it's like it assembles a puzzle. And the information from your enteric nervous system is a really big piece of the puzzle that most people miss. Or if they have it, they may think, oh, it's not very important, or they may not understand what it's telling them. And many people, I think, suppress it. I mean, I suppressed it because I just thought, oh, that fear, whatever. I'm brave. I'm being courageous. I'm not going to be put off by things that are hard and painful. I'm not going to be put off by that feeling in my gut. I'm just going to go for it because it seems like the right thing to do at this time. Well, it wasn't, because I didn't understand what the message was. I had my brain on, but I didn't understand the information I was receiving. Really important information. So you got to pay attention, and yeah, there's a skill in learning to understand what it's telling you. And on its own, without the brain and without the mediating influence of the heart compass that we talked about in the last few weeks, you got to have three. You got to have them working together. Each one on its own is not the same. The whole is much greater than some of its parts. You really need your gut and your heart and your brain to all work together to navigate your life. But right now, what we've been focusing on is understanding what the gut brain actually is, the enteric nervous system. And by the way, if you want the information that the 0 Point Field and I have put in place, have written in, and I've read on video, then there's a link underneath this post to my Patreon. And on my Patreon, if you follow me for free, you can access all of this. It's all there. It is there for the people who follow me for free, because I believe this information should be available to anybody who wants it. Because I just do. So that's all you have to do is find me on Patreon. The link's underneath this post, and go and check it out, and you can learn this for yourself. There are a few practical things that the 0 Point Field has woven right into the writing that you can explore and try. And they're even called practical. So you can find them. I've got to work out better ways to group things. There are collections, there's a library, you can find your way around, but I haven't done all of that. I mean, I've tried to make it sensible, I've tagged things and all of that. But anyway, point is, that resource is there and it's being developed. And one day, don't know when, not my problem, this is actually not my project, it owns me. This will be a resource that will be available to the world. That's all I know. So, right now, understanding how your gut compass works is kind of helpful, because if I'd understood this, the information I was getting would have made more sense. So the big how of how this all happens, the thing that we unpacked the most today, is actually about the vagus nerves. Because I sort of know that the vagus nerves, that they're the 10th cranial nerves, which means that they exit at the base of your skull out of the cranium, right? There's holes in your cranium and they come out there and they go to your body. And all of the other cranial nerves, there are 12. We use those to sense what's going on in our face and feel things inside. It's all sort of head and neck stuff. But the vagus nerve, and that word vagus, is Latin for wandering. And man, does it wander. I looked up a picture of the vagus nerve, just the vagus nerve. And it goes, I mean, wow. It's just this massive two massive networks, because there's one for each side. Information superhighway from your brain through to everything, and like in your chest and your abdomen and your gut. Incredible. Just amazing. And there's definitely going to be a picture of that when this thing is, when God of Me is done. You've got to see it to believe how incredible it is. And so the vagus nerves, incredible. And I even had to figure out, because I thought, well, is the vagus nerve part of the enteric nervous system? Because it's this huge thing. It's like, no, the enteric nervous system is quite distinct from the vagus nerve. But the vagus nerves, there's two of them. I'm so used to people saying the vagus nerve. No, there are two of them, plural, vagus nerves. The vagus nerves connect the enteric nervous system with the brain. And they also connect the brain with all of the major organs in the body. That's amazing. It's just one thing But it's this massive honeycomb of stuff. And there's a professor in England who called it the internet of the body. And he's right. That's exactly what it's like. It just connects everything. It's incredible. I'm still blown away, okay? So the vagus nerves are this information superhighway. And they're responsible for when your gut tunes. You know, when something comes, you get bad news and your stomach turns. They do that. That's a vagus response. There's so much information. And the thing is that we've been explaining very simply how the vagus nerves work with the enteric nervous system and the two plexuses that make up the enteric nervous system. The myenteric one, which is about the muscles in your gut, making those do their thing to move your food around, and the submucosal plexus, which is what organizes all the chemistry and makes sure the right juices are flowing and water's where it needs to be and so on. So that's your enteric nervous system, those two systems, and that works with the vagus nerve, sending information backwards and forwards to the brain, so everything gets organized. And I think the thing is, we sort of think, well, the enteric nervous system is all about digestion, isn't it? How boring. What's that got to do with me navigating my life? But I experience that the sensory system inside my gut, I know because of the other study that I've done, just checking the time here, that nerves get information from much more than the chemistry of the environment they're in and the sensory information that we're getting through our eyes and ears and vibrations and whatever. They're actually, I'm just going to say it, quantumly entangled with the entire universe. So if we've got however many, I can't remember, there's a big number of neurons in your brain, right? And we know, again, from experience, but also science is beginning to explain it, that the heart gets electromagnetic information. It receives electromagnetic information from who knows where, but it does. It's being measured. Why would the 100 million neurons that we have in our enteric nervous system not work the same way? And the answer is, in my book, they work exactly the same way. They can receive information just as well as the brain and the heart. And if your brain is out of commission because you've lost your nut and you're stressed, or if your heart is really incoherent because you're stressed, you are still going to get information through your gut. Now, when you're that incoherent and stressed, it's going to be a jumble. You're going to actually have to slow yourself down, calm yourself down sometime. And that can take some practice, right? And that can be hard to do. But the information is there. And if you realize, even if your brain is scrambled or you really just don't know, and the answer isn't there, you've looked it up, you've done the research, and you spent a month or 3 trying to figure something out, and there's no information. The information that you seek is still in the unified field. It's still in the all of everything. And maybe your brain is so poleaxed by going, I can't figure this out, that it just can't receive the information. But you can get the information in your gut. And you get it as feelings, see? It's not, blah, I know the answer. This is the thing, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. It's just, oh, I have a feeling. But you have to know how to work with those feelings. It's not about being impulsive. It's about understanding there's information in your gut, there's information in your heart, and then there's information in your brain. You put the 3 together, they illuminate each other. This is how I am learning and have learned to navigate my life much more effectively than I did in the past. And this is why we need to listen to our gut. Not because, oh, that feels bad, I'm just going to, but because it's part of the picture. And we need to utilize all of the information that is available to us, not just what's in our head. And you see people ignoring their gut feelings, and I mean, who hasn't probably done this themselves, where they were scared and they ignored the fear that they felt in their gut because of the peer pressure. They said, No. You're chicken. So you overcome it, you go do it. And I mean, that a lot of the time that's fine. But sometimes it's really strong and you disobey it and you go and do the thing and it blows up in your face and you think, well, I should have listened to my gut. So this is a skill, but this is one of our 3 compasses, and it really knows stuff, and it's really worth learning a little bit about how it works and how to use it for yourself. And that's what the 0 Point Field and I are doing, explaining how this happens now. So we've nearly finished the part about this is you're welcome to your enteric nervous system and your vagus nerves and how they communicate with your brain, which I think it's important to understand the tool that you are using. And I know that next week we're going to get to the part that I'm really excited for us to explain, which is this thing called interoception. And it's something that scientists are only just beginning to understand, that besides all the information about digestive and digestion and everything else, there's a bunch of chemicals that don't do digestion, but they give information to the rest of the body. And those feelings that you don't know what they are, but you just follow them, they turn out to be right. There's actually chemistry and neurons that are firing and different bits of muscle that are tightening up to give you those feelings. And one of the names for those feelings is interoception. I remember reading an article. We think about 5 senses. Actually, there are receptors in the human body for 21 different kinds of sensory information. I'm going to look that up when we're writing about that next week and put some of that in, because we just think, eyes, ears, nose, mouth, skin. No! There is so much more information that our whole nervous system can receive and therefore help us use to go through our lives. But you got to understand that it's actually there, and then you can learn how to use it, and you don't feel lost and you don't feel confused. And I don't anymore, and I used to, and I'm so grateful that I can say I used to and I don't anymore, and now I'm working out how to teach that and explain it, just because I want other people to have the choice to feel like I do and more. Go be better than me at this. So that's this week. That's what we've been doing. That's why I'm excited about God of Me. I invite you to join me for the journey. Big love. I'll be back next week with more. It's going to be exciting. I'm looking forward to it. Bye.